Hello, I'm Alex, and I matched with Stanford late last year, and today I wanted to take some time to talk about the National Match program with some bits of advice. This video is part 1 of 2, and today I will be explaining the National Match, regular decision, and I'll be giving some advice on how to best rank schools. In the next part, which I will release a few weeks from now, I will be talking about the essays that I wrote, like actually reading them out loud for you, and I will have a more in-depth discussion into things that I think helped me succeed in this program. That being said, let's get started. For those of you who do not know, the National Match helps connect low-income and low-opportunity students to the top universities in the country. The National Match, which is one phase of the program, offers a full 4-year scholarship to students who apply to QuestBridge partner schools, which there are more than 30, like Stanford, Princeton, Grinnell, and much more. I hope that my guidance and advice today will increase your chances of getting into your dream school so you can experience a moment like this. Oh my lord. Oh my f***ing lord. Lord, where?
I don't know.
Where do you
look at it?
Where? Where? No, you're f***ing kidding.
Is it Stanford?
Stanford.
Yay!
No puede ser, Dios! However, before we talk about the process, we should address the question of who should apply to this scholarship. Although there are no definitive criteria, QuestBridge has posted some of the statistics of past finalists. For example, for 2020, 76% of students were the first to apply to a 4-year college in their family. The average GPA was 3.9, and 93% of students reported an annual income of less than $65,000. To me, all of this means that the average student is low income, first generation, and does well in school. If any of this sounds like you have a great shot at having a lot of success with this program. For more of these stats, like the average ACT and SAT, which are these scores, I will leave a link in the description. Another important question students consider before applying to the program is what are their chances of being accepted to the program and what are their chances of being accepted to a specific school. Honestly, I recommend not worrying too much about this. The quote-unquote chances vary per person. This application is meant to give low opportunity students an opportunity to share some of their unique challenges or struggles in their lives that may not be apparent through the Coalition app or the Common app. Therefore, your chances of being accepted to the program are going to be based on what you accomplished with the resources you were given. For example, if you attended a low-income small school and you took a couple AP exams and did relatively well and you accomplished a lot in your community, you are likely to have a lot larger chance than a student who accomplished the same but went to a large school. As for getting into a specific school, well, that's a lot harder to answer. So my overall advice is going to be that you focus on your own accomplishments and strengths and that you show them off as much as you can on your application. Now, finally, let's talk about the application process. There are 3 things to note. Number 1, the application will open late in the summer, which means you should have plenty of time to complete it. If you ever have any questions about the application when you are completing it, feel free to comment down below and come back to this video or DM me and I will try my best to give you advice. Number 2 and 3 is that there are 2 phases or options when it comes to applying through the National Match program. Assuming you're accepted, the first phase you can participate in is the National Match. And if you are not accepted to a school or you opt out of the National Match, you can then apply through the regular decision window after December 1st. For the National Match, you will have an opportunity to complete a ranked list of 12 schools of your choice. So you should take time researching and making sure that you're picking the schools that you really want on that list. As for the regular decision window, you can apply to 30 plus QuestBridge partner schools with no need to rank them. For the full list, I will leave it in the description. There is a roadmap available on QuestBridge's website that looks like this. I recommend taking a picture of it so that you can keep track of important deadlines. These should all be accurate at the time of recording. There is also a more in-depth chart that I will link below. Now, I'm going to assume that most of you are going to participate in the National Match program, and you're going to need to rank 12 schools as mentioned before. Yay! Unless they change the number, and with the number 1 school being your top choice, and so on and so forth. You must understand that if you are accepted to a school on your list, the decision is binding, so you must not enroll in another school and you cannot apply to another school. Therefore, the ranking of schools on this list is extremely important. I'll share some advice to help me narrow down schools and pick the right ones for me later in this video. Additionally, and some kids miss this, you are binded to go to the top school that accepts you on your list. So that could be your 3rd, your 5th, or none at all. And because not everyone is accepted to a school through the national match, don't worry, it's normal. The regular decision allows you to apply to schools without the binding restriction. And you can use the same application. This means you may not need to fill out the coalition or common app at all. For example, over 3,500 students, which is over 50% of QuestBridge finalists, are admitted to a school through the program, through both the national match and regular decision. I personally did not end up filling out the common app, but it's a great thing to consider, especially if you want to apply to more schools than just the QuestBridge schools. Now let's talk about advice, starting with the statement that the national match isn't for everyone. And I don't mean that in a sense that you have to have a certain level of accomplishment, I just mean that there are some cons to participating. The number one reason students opt out is because it's a binding decision. Once you put a school on the list, there is a chance that you will get in. And you may be asking, why should it be scary to receive a 4-year scholarship? Well, that part isn't scary, that part is freaking awesome. The part that students are concerned about is having to bind themselves to a school in December. And to be completely clear, this is only difficult for students who are struggling to pick between 2 schools and don't want to be committed so early. The other reason is that students want more freedom to choose where they want to go, and you may be thinking, well, you get to pick the list, right? You get to pick the schools that go onto that list. Well, yes, but if you're admitted to multiple, you cannot pick between them. QuestBridge does not inform you about your admission status to the other schools that you applied to. For example, I applied to Stanford and MIT and Brown, and Stanford was ranked number 1, so when I was accepted to Stanford, I was never informed about Brown or MIT, so technically, I did not have the freedom to say, hey, I got into Brown, I got into MIT, and I want to change my choice. And to be totally clear, I would not have changed my choice, but some students want that freedom. If you absolutely want that freedom to say you can pick between A, B, and C, well then do the regular decision and not the national match. Now, I promised you that I would give you some tips on how I was able to rank schools on my list, and my number 1 tip is rank less than 12. Now, I know most of you are going to want to fill up your list, and I totally get that, but hear me out. For every school that you add to your list, you're going to have to provide additional information, and usually in the form of essays, on top of the application itself. For Stanford, there were 5 really small essays and a letter to my future roommate. For most of us, that should be manageable, but having to write essays for 12 schools is going to be time consuming. And since you still have school going on in the background, you are likely going to sacrifice quality to just get them done. Obviously, I did not apply to 12 schools, but seeing students who did, other finalists, in my Facebook chat, I'm not trying to call you out guys, sorry, makes me think that that might be a bad plan. I prefer to rank only 3 schools so I can spend a lot more time refining my responses. I am 100% sure that the time I saved by not having 9 more schools listed helped me improve my application and overall helped me increase my chances of being admitted. Now, in hindsight, I probably could have added 2 or 3 more schools, so I am going to recommend that you rank about 5 or 6 schools. If you think you can manage more without sacrificing quality, then all power to you. And if you need another reason for why filling up your list is not necessary, well, you still have the regular decision window. And I know you're gonna say, well, you don't receive the full ride, right, through regular decision. That is true, but the aid that you receive if you're admitted to a regular decision school through QuestBridge is going to be extremely comparable to a full ride. Another tip that I used when actually trying to refine the amount of schools I was going to apply to was thinking about, can I actually see myself there with virtually no complaint? I know it sounds obvious, but when you're given the freedom to rank 12, well, most of us or some of us are tempted to say, well, I'm going to put that one school even though it's not a school you would actually enjoy going to. I understand why you may want to add more schools just for the sake of increasing your chances, but personally, I don't think I would be happy at any school just because I had a full ride scholarship. The environment, staff, resources, and education matter to me more than just having everything paid for. And trust me, I totally understand that for some of you, getting that 4-year scholarship is your only resort to being able to afford a top school. Trust me, I saw some kids break down in that same Facebook chat. But I think you will be just fine, even if you don't match. The main reason being is that most QuestBridge schools provide 100% need-based aid. This means if you can only pay $3,000 a year, then the school will cover the rest. And if you can only pay $0 a year, well, The school is still likely to charge you, but likely in the form of a work study, which is going to be an easy, flexible job that is only meant to get you working to cover a little bit of the cost. My last tip, and remember there will be more advice in part 2, especially related to essays, is that you should do your research. Ask your counselor, ask students if you can, ask admissions counselors, and attend meetings if you can, to try to gather as much information that you can about the experience of actually being at that school. Again, this should be obvious, but I think I failed to do it for way too long. For example, there are a lot of students that I've even talked to that have this perfect picture of a school, of a dream school, because their friends and family have painted it for them. But then the moment they start to do a little bit of research on their own, they figure out that that school really doesn't have the resources or a couple of those key things that they wanted at their school. For example, and this is not my dream school, but I'll use it anyways, UChicago was a school that I thought would be great for me. But after going to informational meetings and researching their philosophy for education, I quickly found out that I was not going to accomplish my goals there. You should all have standards and 1 or 2 things that you absolutely want to be part of your college life, and make sure that the colleges you are applying to include them. Again, you don't want to end up matching to a school that you won't enjoy. Talking about enjoying, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to my channel. I also have another video on the Prep Scholars program that is aimed for juniors, and I have laptop recommendations out on my channel. Until next time, adios.